It is my pleasure to welcome the first panel to our stage today of regulatory and advocacy experts. First, Robert Kopitsch, Secretary General at Blockchain for Europe. Delphine Forma, Board Member of Crypto Valley Association. Anson Zeall, Chairman of Access, which is the Singapore Cryptocurrency and Blockchain Industry Association. And Tyler Whirty, Co-Founder and Board Member of HODL Pac. Hi, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, happy to be here.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Brilliant. So we only have about 20 minutes. So let's jump right in. And I think that our first question will allow you to kind of introduce what you do. So first up, advocacy work requires an enormous amount of dedication. In your roles supporting the industry and policymakers both, I'd like to ask you each about some of your significant successes. So Anson, let's start with you. Access was one of the first cryptocurrency or crypto asset industry bodies formed in about 2014 and has earned a real place of influence with your local regulator, MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore. Could you tell us a little bit more about the code of practice for digital asset industry that you recently worked on with MAS and how you think it's going to benefit the ecosystem? Anson, I think your mic is not on.
Sorry about that.
There you are. That's all right.
Hi. So just want to say very quickly, 6 years ago, my advisor told me when I had my first meeting with MAS that my call to action then was to have a second meeting. This was 6 years ago. Yeah. So fast forward 6 years, the code of practice is a very big part of the ecosystem now. It gives the banks, the MAS, different stakeholders to see how we standardize the procedures of what crypto companies do for AML and KYC, and now including travel rule as well, and how they assess the different risks. So we have been working together with MAS facilitating this in consultation with the Association of Banks. Mm-hmm. And now with this and the new license that just came up, basically companies can just follow the code of practice, treat it as a guide. And then afterwards, you can also use this towards getting the license, as well as talking to different stakeholders, and most importantly, to the banks.
So really practically useful. Delphine, the Crypto Valley Association has been very active also in the support of the promotion of crypto assets, specifically in Switzerland, but elsewhere as well. Switzerland took the early lead in developing clear guidance around tokens. Can you share some of the ways that the CVA has been supporting the ecosystem on policy development? I believe you were heavily involved in the interpretation of AML regulations with the CIF.
Yes. So hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'm very happy to be here. So yes, in the CVA, we actually support and connect the startups and establish enterprise through policy recommendation and project across verticals. We initiate and establish research, organize conference, hackathon, and other industry events. So the way we work is that we have different working groups which are in charge of a specific topic to support the needs of the community and influence, obviously, the policy regulators. So for instance, as you just said, Regulatory Affairs Working Group, which I'm part of, has been very involved in influencing local and global regulation. And as you just mentioned, very recently, we have just going back and forth with the state Secretariat for International Financial Matters, the CIF in Switzerland, regarding the modification of the AML regulation in light of the new DLT law. So what they have asked us to do is mainly to work on definition, what is a hosted wallet, what is not a non-hosted wallet, and how we will apply AML regulation. So we were in the final stage, and it's very good because they have really taken into consideration our opinion. So this is basically how we generally work with Swiss authorities. They really see us as trusted partners. And on a more global level, very recently, and it's not out yet, our Stablecoin Task Force is also replying to the consultation paper of the FSB on the regulatory, supervisory, and oversight challenges raised by global stablecoin arrangement. And also, I don't know, maybe you've seen it on social media. Very recently, we have also released a paper on trusted case ceremonies guidelines. And the aim is really to improve awareness of the importance of protecting digital assets in a safe and secure way. So I think like really, I would like to use this forum to thank all our working groups members, because without them, we won't be able to be such a powerful association and be able to influence regulation. So thank you so much for that.
Brilliant. I have, a bit of a surprise comment question for you, Delphine. I know that Crypto Valley has done a lot of work over the last, 18 months to ensure that the board of directors for Crypto Valley had a nice balance of diversity. So I was super delighted to see you join the board of directors as a very knowledgeable woman in the space.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Robert, let's move over to you. So Blockchain for Europe is one of the newer advocacy bodies formed in 2018 to address an entire region versus an individual jurisdiction. As we know, advocacy and lobbying in Europe is very different to other parts of the world. And so in addition to bringing communication, to bridging those communication gaps between the industry and policymakers, you also have the added responsibility or challenge of bridging communication across 27 member states who may have completely different views on policy and risk appetites. How do you navigate this for the industry?
First of all, thanks for having me, and happy birthday to Binance. Great what you're doing, and you will be probably doing in the future. That's a very, very true point that you just made. So the European level, as many of you know, has several layers. The one that's really truly European is the European Commission with the European Parliament, all located in Brussels. And then you have the second layer of the legislation process is the member states. And to link them, we have to operate on several levels, basically. So we have to operate in the Brussels level with the Commission and the Parliament, and then also with the member states. And we try to do this in connection with all of them all together, So to make this a success, we have to bring them together, to connect them, and make them all aware of what the other one is doing. And that's also one of the beauties that I think we bring to the table. So we talk to all the jurisdictions at the European level, so Germans, French, but also the Finnish and the Latvians and Cypriots and Maltese. There's large and big countries in the EU, so it's sometimes not so easy, and sometimes they don't even know what the other one is doing, how far advanced they are. And so we had a very positive example for that we've been to Finland, for example, and then a couple of weeks, and we talked to the tax authority, and a couple of weeks later we went to France and Belgium, and they were complaining about how you can use, or basically not aware of how you can use taxation models on blockchain to make it more efficient for the state to collect taxes, for example. And we just been in Finland where they're exactly working on this. And we told them like, hey guys, talk to your Finnish colleagues. They're exactly doing what you're doing. Just pick up the phone, which they eventually did. And now, they're collaborating on this. I'm not aware of what's the outcome of it, but, sometimes this is what we also bring to the table to make others aware of what they're doing, because everybody, and I mean, Brussels is a bubble, but not only Brussels. So, Berlin works on their things, Paris works on their things. And then you have the industries in those markets that sometimes think they're doing a unique thing or, disconnected to the others. And then, you have to bring them together. And we're basically operating as a platform between the industry, the supervisory authorities at European, but also member states level and on the European level, and try to help the harmonization to take place, in this case, literally, because often, and I think everybody's aware of that, the biggest issue in the blockchain space and in the crypto asset space is still education and understanding. And there's so much expertise in Europe that often is not used enough or promoted enough even. And we try to do that. I think we're relatively successful with that. I mean, we make workshops for European policymakers and commission people to really understand what's going on, but also what they should be aware of when they're regulating these things. And I think this is key for the future to make innovation happen at the European continent. And that's what we're trying to do. And we will be trying even harder in the future, because as of September, things get serious. The European bodies will promote their new proposal on crypto assets, digital finance, and all the horizontal applications like smart contracts and so on. And then, this thing gets a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that me personally, Robert, you and I, and Anson, you and I have worked on many, many projects cross-border, trying to instill some of that harmonization. And we find that often we're the man in the middle that is informing policymakers where they might have a gap in their knowledge. But talking about that influencing the policymaker, Tyler, what you do is slightly different. So previously you worked in the advocacy space on initiatives like the Token Taxonomy Act, and then you've co-founded HODL Pac earlier this year, which again is a little bit different. So can you explain for our viewers, especially those who might not be familiar with the American political system, what the purpose of a PAC, or political action committee, is, and what are HODL Pac's mission and initiatives?
Absolutely. And first of all, thanks for having me. I'm happy to join you guys today. And let me say that I'm happy you said HODL Pac. Usually I get HODL Pac. There's some, it's the great tomato debate of our industry. So it looks like we're on the same team on that one. Yeah. So to answer your question, so political action committees are U.S. organizations that raise money privately to influence elections or promote legislation, and they're regulated by the U.S.'s Federal Election Commission, the FEC. There's two different kinds: regular PACs and super PACs. That's probably not too important for our purposes today. So suffice to say that PACs raise money to support politicians for a certain cause. HODL Pac's cause, as you may be able to guess, is dedicated to supporting candidates for the United States Congress in the both House and the Senate, whose policies would promote the development of crypto in the crypto economy more generally in the United States. We have several other advocacy organizations in Washington D.C. and in states across the country. Like the Blockchain Association, Coin Center, the Chamber of Digital Commerce, they all work on behalf of the industry, and they all do a fantastic job in promoting our interests, in Congress and in the executive branch, in the judiciary, states, across the board in the United States. But what we thought was missing was a grassroots organization, one that would, I don't know if that term travels across the Atlantic, but the grassroots kind of means, support from the bottom up, engaging the people. And there was also no, permanent fundraising operation. So those are the two kind of gaps that we wanted to fill with HODL Pac. And we thought they would, doing that would go a long way in supporting, crypto-related legislation, like the Token Taxonomy Act, which, might not be the perfect solution, but, it's definitely a step in the right direction. That would go a long way in supporting those things in Congress and getting our representatives to pay attention. So lastly, HODL Pac is we could have set ourselves up as a traditional PAC, which means we would just collect money and kind of make the decisions on behalf of our donors, but that we didn't think that would be very aligned with the ethos of the industry. So we set ourselves up as a community governed PAC, and we definitely we want to kind of leverage the tools of our industry, specifically those in the DAO space. To decentralize power, build a community, leverage the wisdom of the crowd, all the great things that we love about crypto in this organization. So we're not a full-fledged DAO yet. We're set up kind of as like a Web 2.0 version of a DAO right now, but we're experimenting with things with like quadratic voting and other types of decentralized decision making. And hopefully soon we're going to be able to, move into more of the Web 3.0 version of that with ERC20 based community tokens as governance. So So yeah, so that's HODL Pac. We're a community governed PAC to support crypto in the U.S. Congress using the tools of the industry to do so.
I love it. Well, it's much easier to incept influence if you're starting with somebody that agrees with you to some degree in the first place. So pretty exciting stuff. So we've got about 5 minutes left, and one of the key things that we're hearing a lot from policymakers and kind of the next wave, I think, of policy development is really around stable coins or so-called corporate coins and CBDCs, which are kind of lumped together and conflated often in discussions, probably erroneously, but major reports have been published by central banks like the Bank of England and FATF last week before. And as Robert and Delphine said, we're awaiting reports from the BIS and the FSB. So I wanted to quickly get each of your views on upcoming policy around these types of tokens. Delphine, let's start with you. Libra Foundation is established in Switzerland, and Libra seems to have awakened many of the governments around the world to the opportunities of tokens and digital assets. Do you think these so-called corporate coins like Libra could be the driver for mainstream adoption?
So yeah, I do think the Libra initiative has a lot of positive effects, but also negative. Positive in the sense that we raise awareness globally on virtual assets and their potential for disruption. And that I find it really, really cool. But it also has a negative effect, like it has slowed down a lot the processes with FINMA, for instance, to be regulated in Switzerland, because they have been focused a lot on how they are going to potentially regulate this kind of initiative, looking at which kind of regulation will apply to it. So I think this kind of corporate coin can have the potential for mass adoption, but only if they do in fact remain stable, are very easy to use, like user-friendly. It should be super easy to use that, and stay under sponsorship of very large firms. But I also see like a lot of issue with that. If we talk about the corporate coins, not about like CBDC and all that stuff, the biggest issue would be around data privacy and data control. Like if you look at Facebook, they control WhatsApp, Instagram, they already have access to so many data that as a user, I don't think I would ever touch Libra because I would be too scared that they have too much information on me. But I might not be, some other people might think otherwise. So I do think they will drive mass adoption at one point.
Okay. Robert, what do you think the policy and regulatory implications are for a global currency or a so-called global currency like Libra?
I think that's a very good question, especially in light of the FSB consultation that is still running till tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I think the key thing about stablecoins is that you have to agree on how you regulate them. And I think the approach to say there's global stablecoins and there's non-global stablecoins is, to be blunt, very ridiculous, because by nature every stablecoin is global potentially, and the FSB even acknowledges that. So, and I think by now it's really clear that this definition makes no sense. And the Commission, for example, and also we're very aligned on that. We take the approach of systemically relevant stablecoins, and then have a risk-based approach on how they should be regulated. It's a more principled approach, a bit like you would look into other financial actors, because it's about actually really like what harm can it do to users and what benefits can it bring to the users. And it's not about if it's global or regional. I think, and that's something that got started, and the whole Libra debate definitely did one thing, is that it speeded up the process of thinking about correct taxonomy and what the hell we're actually talking about. Because everybody's throwing around those terms of virtual asset, crypto assets, and utility tokens and all this stuff, and then you have two people from two regulators, sometimes even in the same jurisdiction, and they don't understand the other one, and that's a big issue. And honestly, that's the first thing that we need to flag and that we need to address. And I think then something like Libra loses a lot of its scare, because you can tell this is blue, this is red, and this is green, and then everybody knows. It's like. I think the issue really, and that's my last thing I want to say, is everything in the space goes so fast that it overwhelms regulators. And I think all of us or all our duty is to help them understand and cope with it. Because if we don't do that, then they will go in a defensive mode and just stop innovation, and it's very bad. And nobody wants that. So I think it's all on us to make them understand and make them believe in the potential of it.
Okay, so I have 1 minute left. I'm going to split that time between Tyler and Anson. Both of you, I wanted to ask a little bit more about CBDCs. So first, Tyler, we've seen the digital dollar initiative emerge from the US, perhaps on the back of Libra discussions. What do you think the implications for the digital dollar could be for crypto more broadly if this gains momentum?
Sure, and I'll be quick, Anson, so you can get in here too. I think Libra was a big motivator. Also, you know, the response to COVID-19, where, you know, money was being made available to individuals and businesses, and like they needed to get it out quickly and weren't able to put kind of the old financial systems, you know, restraints on full display. So I think those are two motivating factors. I think there's also there's a few different versions of digital dollars that are being discussed. And, you know, I think the crypto community should be hoping for, you know, the tokenized, you know, programmable, you know, decentralized option that's being introduced in the US, into the debate into the US. I think that's the best thing that we can look out for in an increasingly digital economy. We need a, you know, a digital cash to be able to, you know, yeah.
Agree. Anson, CBDCs, are they going to help or hinder the roadmap for crypto, for digitally native crypto?
So this is a half glass full or empty thing, because it depends on the pros and cons on which side you see it. So when I talk to my members, basically we can keep on just being in our own shell in their own crypto space, but many of the exchanges want new liquidity, want to scale. If you want the old money coming into the system, you need to comply with some of the regulations. Okay, so by using CBDCs, if eventually it does link to our ecosystem, there will be a flood of new liquidity for everyone. But in terms of which one to use, Asia has a very different sort of culture. So for example, China or even parts of Asia, privacy is not a thing. Most really don't care. So you can see that WeChat, for 1.3 billion people actually use it, right? So even for Singapore's context, we're in both. Temasek has invested in Libra, as well as Temasek, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and also MAS is saying they'll support the Chinese digital currency. So it depends. We have to see the development on how it goes, but definitely, to me, overall, it's positive for the whole ecosystem.
Fabulous. Guys, I'm so sorry to cut us short. I always enjoy these conversations, but we're out of time. So thank you all so much for joining us today. And hopefully we can pick up this discussion maybe in another channel sometime soon. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.